2014 is in Czech Republic the year of Czech music, because the center of all this celebration and festivity like Smetana, Dvořák, Janáček, Suk, Martinů. Was this year of Czech music one of the reasons why the Opera Europe chose the Czech Republic be the place of your autumn conference?
We like at Opery Europa to change the places where we have conferences and make a contrast. So if one year we're in the west, the next year we like to be in the east or north or south. And also big cities and smaller towns, we like to make that we cover all of Europe. And some years ago we had a conference in Prague, which was very successful, and many members came and had a marvelous, interesting time there. And I think it was time to come back once again to Czech Republic and to visit other important Czech cities. But I think, yes, it was for us an occasion that these anniversaries should happen this year. And also I think we wanted to coincide it with the opening of one of the biennial Janáček festivals here in Brno.
You announced that one of the main themes of the conference is going to be Czech music.
I think that an anniversary gives an opportunity to promote Czech music more widely. I don't know, you must tell me whether it is necessary to do so in Czech Republic. Though when I talk to people in Prague, they say everywhere they want to hear Verdi, Puccini and so on, and not always Janáček, which is their own composer. And of course in the rest of Europe now, Janáček is a very important and popular composer in the repertory of many opera houses. But some of the rest of Czech music less so. It is much rarer to hear the operas of Smetana in Western Europe. Dvořák Rusalka is performed often, but not the other operas of Dvořák, and Martinů less. So I think it's a good opportunity, and one of the things we're hoping with this conference, by splitting it between Brno and Ostrava, is to show over 3 or 4 days a variety of Czech music, so that our members can see the richness that is on offer. I particularly asked Ostrava to schedule a performance of Smetana's last opera, Četava Stena, because this is very, very rarely done outside Czech Republic, and it's fantastic, beautiful music, and I think very interesting for people to hear.
I think a lot of people still remember the year of Czech music in 2004, when there was a co-production with Covent Garden to Martinů's Great Passion, fantastic performance directed by David Pountney.
I was quite a little involved in this. I mean, Charles Mackerras was a good friend and colleague of mine when he was alive. But going back much further, I worked at Welsh National Opera during the later 1970s, when I was very enthused about Czech music and Janáček. And our company, Welsh National Opera, in collaboration with Scottish Opera, embarked on a cycle of the 5 most famous Janáček operas, which we performed over a number of years, not only in Cardiff, the capital of Wales, and Glasgow and Edinburgh in Scotland, but in many other cities in England, and I think did something then to promote the idea of these operas, also in productions by David Pountney, and conducted then by Richard Armstrong. When I was at Covent Garden in the 1990s, I was determined that we should do Martinů's Greek Passion, because he had originally wanted to perform it at Covent Garden during his lifetime, and when Rafael Kubelik was music director in the late 1950s, and it hadn't happened. And I felt this was a terrible blot on the reputation of my dear Covent Garden. So we made a collaboration with Bregenz Festival to do this opera, first in Bregenz and then in Covent Garden when the theatre reopened in the new century. And with Charles Mackerras and David Pountney and Stefanos Lazaridis designs, and it made a big impact, I think.
Do you have any special relationship to any Czech composer?
Look, I think it would be impossible not to have a special relationship with Jan Jáček, because he is one of the great 20th century musical dramatic composers. And in a century where we no longer have Verdi and Wagner and Mozart, I think it's quite interesting that two of the most popular composers today are Leos Janáček from Moravia and Benjamin Britten from England, and that their works get more and more performed rather than works from Italy or Germany or France from that period. But I have to say that I also have a special love for the works of Smetana. And when I was young, I travelled to Prague for the Spring Festival in May, because they were performing in 1 week all the operas of Smetana. And I came and I had no money and with two friends, and we came with a tent and we put it at the side of the river Vltava, and went in every evening to hear these operas. And there was one big disappointment, because in the political climate then, they cancelled the production of Brandenburgers in Bohemia, because they thought it was politically subversive in the 1970s to do this piece. But we heard all the other ones, and that was where I really learnt Hubička and Tajemství and Jatavastena and Fevdovi, as well as Dalibor, Libuše, and of course Prodana Nevesta, which we get in the rest of Europe. But to get inside those works was a very special privilege, and I think that their amazing undiscovered legacy, not undiscovered for you, but I think undiscovered for the rest of Europe. I think Hubička is a masterpiece. It was recently performed at Wexford Festival in Ireland 3 years ago, maybe, with some very good Czech singers. And it was a fantastic special evening, easily the best thing in that festival.
And you saw the Bartók Bride, Brno production yesterday.
Yes.
So do you like it?
Yes. Yeah. Look, I love this piece, but that I've known from my own youth, of course. It was performed when I was growing up at Covent Garden in English language, with Kubelik initially. And then there were wonderful performances, which I went every night, in the 1960s, conducted by Jaroslav Krompolz. And that was a fantastic education for me, to hear this great conductor give Bartók Bride with such life and vitality and love. That was special.